Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with your Raw recap for April 13th, 2020. I know it's a bit late. We're new at this and trying to get schedules under control while I work my other jobs as well. And I'm trying to get good about putting content up on both of my channels every day. In any event, today's Raw recap may be a little bit late, but better than never. Anyway, hosts are Jerry Lawler, Byron Saxton, and Tom Phillips. Phillips is getting better than when I remember him last. I wasn't viewing WWE for quite a while before getting into it in the past 6 months or so. I've gone through periods in the last few years where I will view around WrestleMania season, I'll view a few weeks before SummerSlam, and that was about it. But I'm trying to get more into things, as I would like to eventually make a play-by-play comeback somewhere on the independent circuit, so I want to know what is relevant now. Anyway, a lengthy video package about Drew McIntyre winning the championship airs to open the show. Thanks to the fans for letting him live his dream and into their living rooms every week, and then he thanks everyone for the support and kind of pokes fun at the internet, says that winning the title was a big deal, but that it's easy to have a lot of critics online. He then calls being champion a lifelong dream and noted that beating Brock Lesnar in 5 minutes was probably the biggest thing he'd ever done in his life. They showed a win of his over the Big Show the previous week, and it's clear that they are trying to treat him as a main event star with all the start and stop pushes of other people over the years. I have my reservations about them being able to do so. However, I do support the effort to do so and do think McIntyre is the right guy in the right place, hopefully at the right time. I think he has all that it takes to be a guy to lead the company if needed, and hopefully if he goes well, we can kind of see Roman Reigns take an upper mid-card role on a more permanent basis. His attempted push to the main event did not work en masse, where I believe Drew's actually can. Then we see that Drew says he's going to be a fighting champion. Anyone that deserves a championship shot is going to get one. And Andrade comes out with Zelina Vega. Interrupted, and Vega called Andrade the real champion of Raw. Now, I don't agree with the making of this match. If championship means something, then the World Champion, or the Raw Champion, as it were, should have no interest in fighting a lesser champion unless there's a unification match on the line. And the lesser champion, in this case the U.S. Champion, has a lot to gain by fighting McIntyre, but devalues the belt. If he loses either way, there's something that loses in this scenario. Then we see that Vega and McIntyre go back and forth a little bit. McIntyre, it's noted to McIntyre, rather, that it was Andrade that put his arm in a perilous position several years back and eventually put him on the shelf from NXT, put him on the shelf for 6 months. This is well done. It's good storytelling. I'm not necessarily against the two of them doing battle, but I wish that Andrade was not the U.S. champion during this time. Then we see McIntyre accept the challenge, and he then says he took back, or Andrade says that he took McIntyre's title once. He'll do it again, and there'd be no more Mr. Nice Guy. I don't quite understand where Mr. Nice Guy was as it relates to Andrade before this, but in any event, a champion versus champion match is scheduled for your main event of the evening. Next, Asuka defeats Ruby Riott to qualify for the Money in the Bank ladder match in 12 minutes and 59 seconds. Asuka danced to Riott's music. You know, it's interesting. Asuka's probably one of the more charismatic superstars, regardless of gender, on the WWE broadcast right now. I'd say she's at least top 5. Could even make an argument for top 3, but she does so without speaking any English, which I find is interesting. and goes against almost everything that Vince McMahon has stood for over the past few years. Asuka with a fight on the outside early, and then Asuka took over with a kick to the back of the head after the break. Asuka countered, and then Riot kicks her into rolling into an ankle lock, followed by a German suplex and a Shining Wizard. That's all by Asuka. Riot comes back with a running boot to the corner and clothesline to the back for a near fall. Asuka momentarily regains her composure and then catches her in the Asuka lock, but Riot turns that into a cover. Good mat wrestling by both women here. Then Riot with a flatliner for a near fall. Asuka follows soon after with an Asuka lock, and again, she grabs the win this time. Charlie Caruso tries interviewing Asuka, which I don't understand. Is she somehow brain dead? Did she eat the paint off the Titan Tower office ceiling? What happened to Charlie Caruso that she thinks speaking to a woman who barely speaks any English whatsoever is going to yield a good interview? Sometimes common sense would be helpful for those involved in this process. Asuka instead grabs the mic, yelled in Japanese, and declared that no one was ready for Asuka. Caruso made her issue and let things go, walking away rather sadly. Let's see. MVP welcomed us to the VIP lounge backstage, and he had news. Next week there would be a series of matches, 3 qualifiers for the men's Money in the Bank: Rey Mysterio Jr. versus Murphy, Aleister Black versus Austin Theory, and Apollo Crews versus MVP. Now, couple of questions. Why was MVP given the authority in a role on television where he can make matches or at least announce them? And then he's going to be in one of the matches that he point-blank announced. If this were real, we would have some sort of governing body, a president, a championship committee, a goofy elf in a blue hat. It doesn't matter who, but we'd have some authority whose job it was to stick the back of the arenas and make matches. The simple fact that we don't have that anymore is nothing more than lazy storytelling. And yes, you can do this without it being an authority figure. See Nick Bockwinkel, 1994 WCW, for an example. If you must go back further, see Jack Tunney, for an example. If you must even go back further than that, Ole Anderson in the NWA WCW switch did a authority figure role for a little while. It can be done. It's just that somehow people seem to forget history or don't care about history enough to bother doing it. In any event, Aleister Black defeats Orny Lorcan. Easy for me to say. Not a guy that I would have put in this match with Black, not because he wasn't good. A lot of chain wrestling, a lot of good stuff, mat work. I've been around many people that trained with Lorcan on the indie scene, and they call him one of the best in the ring they've ever seen. And that's why I fight for him to not be in this position. Aleister Black has been receiving a non-stop push for several weeks now. This is good. This means we care about getting him to a place where he ultimately can reside in, an upper main event echelon, perhaps in main events, who knows. Good idea, love it. I wouldn't mind seeing Black and Drew in a babyface versus babyface match somewhere down the road. Great. Now, problem with having Lorcan in there is threefold. Lorcan on the NXT brand is a tag team member with Danny Burch. They are gaining momentum in the NXT brand. When he comes up here and basically gets eaten alive for at least 6 of the 9 minutes that he's wrestling with champion, it does nothing for Lorcan, it does nothing for the champion, it does nothing for anybody except kill television time. In a company that should be concerned about using their television time appropriately, I've never seen such egregious use of, gee, let's throw somebody out there because we have these guys under contract, let's use them for something. than I have ever seen in the last 5 years of WWE. There is such a thing as logical booking. There is such a thing as, hey, step 1, we want to get guy A over. Step 2, we want to protect guys 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, then let's not send anybody except guy 6 on out to fight guy A. This is not rocket science. And what it shows is one of two things. Either we have employed a bunch of nitwits who have no idea what it is to have logical storytelling at the writer's room level, or Vince McMahon is on such a power trip because he has difficulty doing basic things like, I don't know, cooking himself a meal, feeding himself, or some other sundry things for him to be doing, that he feels the need to change the course of a show 17 times in a given day. Couple of notes. 1, no one at home knows what the original rough drafts of the scripts were prior to it going to television, which means really these changes are irrelevant and don't actually matter. As in, it doesn't matter if you're trying to get Aleister Black over, whether he faces Fandango, the recently released Mike Bennett Kanellis, or Oney Lorcan. It doesn't matter. What matters is they can have a compelling match, and you're not using the other guy who's going to take the loss for something compelling on any of your programs, especially having nearly 100 people under contracts in the developmental system, or that's what I heard at one point, might have reduced by now. Let's call it 50 just for fun. Having 50 people in your developmental system, there's absolutely no reason that the people from your beginners' classes, male and female, can't be brought in to do things like what happened for Black last evening. The simple fact that they're not means that WWE has gotten so complacent with their storytelling that they no longer care if something makes logical sense or not to the casual viewer. Now, they would say that casual viewers aren't going to care that much. And you're probably right. A casual viewer flipping the channels doesn't know who Oney Lorcan is, doesn't know who Sean Daivari is, doesn't know who MVP is. However, if we want them to care and we want them to come back, and isn't that the idea of raising ratings, then wouldn't it be prudent, intelligent, and useful to plan out information about every person that's in there, even if it's only for 30 seconds? This does two things. It resets things for the fans at home who might have forgotten in the past 7 days because they decided to grow life how cool of them that they don't remember every single detail of what happened on Raw or SmackDown or wherever they've heard it. Secondarily, the simple fact that there are people who are so talented that have been let go indicates that a pretty much multi-billionaire, or was billionaire at one point, cares so little about the life that he changes that he will willy-nilly let people go out of nowhere with no advance warning. And before somebody becomes an apologist and says it's happening in every company, to which I will say, if you're listening to this, especially after the solving of the pandemic, you probably are going to say something like, wow, I never knew it was that complicated. And the answer to that is, it's always been that complicated. It doesn't matter. It's just people make it simpler based on their interest in the subject matter. In any event, and as we go forward, Aleister Black has a perfectly good match here. Leg locks applied, Lorcan gets to the ropes, Black hits a series of strikes, and a running knee, but Lorcan came back with a clothesline for a near fall. Lawler thought maybe we understood that Oney guy. And so Lorcan then nailed a few chops, but Black caught him with a knee, and Black Magic for the pinfall win. Nothing wrong with the match, but this could have been done by Tyler Breeze, could have been done by an NXT intermediate class person. It could have been done by one of the many people that were going to get fired on Wednesday anyway. If you intend on keeping a talent, it means you have something to do with the talent eventually. Therefore, they shouldn't be taking one-sided losses on television unless absolutely necessary, or your plans for them have so drastically changed that there's no way to salvage what you were doing before. Okay, so next up is a Becky Lynch promo. I love Becky Lynch. I think she is one of the best talkers in the business right now, at least in the top 10 of the conversation. Certainly when it comes to women, maybe Charlotte Flair is better than her on a given day, but they are 1 and 2 in my mind, at least for this generation. Lynch is out, and she wants a opportunity to clear up confusion. She says that Shayna Baszler must be experiencing the confusion. Lynch said it really was a battle of skill versus heart, and it's a battle of the minds. Lynch is, obviously more heart-based, and she admits that this was one of the hardest matches she's ever had. She also admits to having been overconfident at times throughout her championship reign. However, that maybe that's just what she wanted Baszler to think, is that she was overconfident and not paying attention. Then the much quicker Baszler has destroyed many people. The sillier Lynch became more popular because she's more multidimensional, and a person having trouble getting close enough to her would destroy her potentially. In any event, then we basically hear Lynch talk about challenging whoever wins the championship shot at Money in the Bank. Again, not quite sure why we're doing pay-per-view name shows during a quarantine. Are we that tone deaf that we think that giving people an extra 3 hours of entertainment in their given week, especially if they're locked up at home, is going to make a hill of beans different in their psychological makeup? The answer is no. That's another problem with Vince McMahon and company. The simple fact is they're not just laying off individuals. They're laying off individuals with family and children. And, Daddy, Mommy, why are you home so much? You're never home this much. And then you're going to put these people back to work without giving a fair explanation to their children about the return to sports. I mean, the larger, and I've learned this over the years. I've worked with 28 different industries as a business coach. The larger the company, the dumber the logic, or the lack of logic, as it were, that exists. And I strongly suspect that WWE is about Dr. Seuss level of compliance with basic concepts. So Shayna Baszler out, Sarah Logan, and Baszler wins the match. However, there is a snafu along the way. There is a mock injury to Sarah Logan. Logan is such a convincing actor, or she legitimately hurt herself, at least partially, that she's crying over in the corner. Somehow the ref stops the match, or the ring announcer rings the bell for the stoppage of the match earlier in the match, and this is not a proper cue. The staff member goes out and I think tries to make his way to his vehicle in order to rectify the situation. But regardless of where you are, stay safe. My personal opinion is that this virus is overhyped. However, leaving my personal opinion at the door, because it doesn't change anyone's life regardless of what I believe, it's a good time to get reacquainted with your family, emotionally speaking, and all the other facets thereof. And it will take time, but it is doable. Let's see. Then we move on to after playing up that Sarah Logan was truly injured, in reality she was just being let go. Wonder if they knew they were going to do that at this point. Seth Rollins stands backstage into the dark and says at WrestleMania, I lost Kevin Owens. Once again, my career has been crucified. The savior language, and I'm not a Christian, but the savior language and undertones of somebody being a demigod or some sort of savior complex or whatever, certainly, to me, in bad taste with where we are politically, in bad taste with where we are socially right now. There are certainly times you could drop a joke like that, but this doesn't seem to be one of them. After the break, we get the clarity that Baszler is, in fact, the winner of the women's match. And then Austin Theory takes on Akira Tozawa. Just over 7 minutes in that one. We'll try and capitalize that relatively quickly for the folks at home. Vega joined on commentary. Selena Vega is probably one of the better female announcers / commentators I've had the pleasure of working with, and I've only heard her stuff a couple of times here tonight and then a couple of times elsewhere when I was looking for just stylistically how different you were depending on what role you're in, and I don't see that many differences, which is a good sign. Then we journey on over to the match itself. Tozawa gets some early attention, and then we see that Tozawa is in control of things until Tozawa hit a cool running senton on the outside, and Jerry Lawler refers to it as a ramen noodle moonsault. Now, look, it's a flip comment. We all make them. People who want to get butthurt over this and want to make it racist, well, you can do that. And I would even venture to say that there are those in the business who consider Jerry Lawler a racist, to which I would say, if it was ever substantiated, not just internet rumor, I'd be more than happy to read a book about the tendency towards narcissism in people with abused parents. I actually did a video on it on my other channel. If it's something you're into, go to Golden Opportunities Coaching, and all the information is there. Anyway, Tozawa applied an octopus hold, but then Theory reversed it into the ATL/TKO attempt and pinfall for the win. After the match, Andrade and Angel Garza came out to help beat up Tozawa. They aired a clip of McIntyre Chronicle episode. These Chronicle shows, I'm going to start adding them to my watch list, because everything I've seen from them have been really, really good, which is a good sign. If everyone's doing okay today. Let's see. Caruso then interviews Rey Mysterio Jr. and asks what it's going to mean if he was in Money in the Bank. For the first time, Mysterio recalled being world champion in 2010. Can't believe that's 10 years ago. And having his reign ended by Kane. And then the use of the cash in of the briefcase. It's just... at this point, Mysterio, I think, has lost some of its luster. When you hear him speak, you kind of still put him, at least I do, back in his prime, and then to realize he's not, because he's stumbling over words in a promo, and quite often stumbling over matches here and there. It's just really sad. At least to me, it's sad. It's not something I would wish on anybody, to be aging in a way to where you have to at least think about hanging it up, but you're nowhere near wanting to do so. It's just a difficult thing all the way around. And for some reason, my note page is frozen here. Bear with me a second, folks. Anyway, then we go into Angel Garza versus Tahuti Miles, 2 minutes, 20 seconds. Garza really getting a heavy push right now. Jury is still out for me on how I feel about the guy. Tahuti has a good showing in this matchup. We notice that Zelina is getting more and more powerful as time goes by. Then we see an interview with Asuka and Kairi Sane. They are humming their theme song throughout as a way of communicating. Asuka and Riot was not what was expecting and not what anyone else was ready for. And Asuka, steps on the side and lets Sane answer the question about confidence level going against Nia Jax later in the evening. They continued to speak in Japanese before dancing off, singing their lives out, and having a good old time. So we're either to believe one of two things. The lack of understanding of the English language has impacted upon these announcers in such a way that it's hard to understand them sometimes, and all we have to do is laugh, and hopefully that's enough. Or it just means that, again, the manipulative behavior McMahon built his empire on is finally coming back to affect him, and it's not in a traditional way. But if more eyeballs are not on the Impact brand, and I know we're talking about Raw, but to make a point, if more eyeballs are not on the Impact brand, sooner or later, there's a chance that some of them will go away, some of them will flee. There's a chance like that with any endeavor, but when someone's right in front of you, it's easier to remember to recommend them to somebody. Anyway, Caruso then interviews Drew McIntyre backstage. McIntyre pointed to a scar on his arm and asks if Vega remembers what that scar is all about, and then things break down a little bit. Andrade almost taking it all the way from him in terms of power, just because, you're playing with somebody that has power doesn't mean you have to act power hungry, and your son is still learning this to some degree. Nia Jax defeated Kairi Sane to qualify in the women's availability of extra help. That would be useful and helpful. And all of those good things. Nia Jax is one of those really polarizing figures. You either love her or hate her. I never got her. I respect her as a person because she seems very sweet in the video footage I've seen. But as a performer, just not my cup of tea. Let's see. And let's see if I can make my notepad actually work with me here. There we go. Charlotte Flair comes out next after the match that allows Nia Jax to continue her quest to get the championship back. Next stop, Money in the Bank. Anyway, Charlotte kept referring to herself as the queen, and she gives us attention that we all need. She says she won the Royal Rumble, went on to do what neither other woman wanted to do and make an open challenge to Rhea Ripley, at which she's happy she won. Charlotte said that Vince McMahon knew she was the biggest star. That's why she was given the prominence in the WrestleMania locker room post-match. Flair is really good at riding the line between babyface and heel, to say the very least. Let's see. We move on. Charlotte would remain in NXT, in fact, and be the next in line. Or the next in line is Io Shirai. Flair not ducking that or anyone else in the NXT brand. Bobby Lashley with Lana defeats No Way Jose. And there's a moment where Lana is screaming on the outside. So Lashley told her basically to be quiet. This angle already coming apart. There's nowhere for them to go with it that anyone will care about consistently. So in my move and mindset, it would better be dropped. It's just one of those things. And then we go backstage. Rollins is still there. To all the non-believers, you've left me with no alternative. Tonight I will stomp out all doubt. Cryptic promo from Seth Rollins, who, for all intents and purposes, should be a little more, devastated over his WrestleMania appearances and such. It just doesn't seem like there's any curricular linear storytelling here. Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, 13-16, longest match to this point against the War Raiders. Ricochet is a guy that I think they're wasting entirely. I don't know that he has it in terms of being able to be a talker, but he does have it in the ring. And to me, there would always be a belt on him wherever he goes. Do like the rub for Cedric Alexander, though, of the tag team itself. this would indicate that they are at least trying to rebuild the tag team division for the 147th time this decade, or maybe the last decade too. Anyway, back and forth match, good, solid series, and finally, the Viking Experience is hit for the win. Definitely a match to go out of your way to see. Typical high spot versus power interaction. I didn't go through all the moves because you couldn't really follow them at all. And if you really want to see a match, this is a match to go out of your way to seeing, which I was going to say anyway, so really no reason to sit there and belabor the point by talking about how good something we both had just at times is or was. So then we go to, and I apologize, my allergies are kicking up yet again. Then we go to Caruso interviewing the Street Profits. Bianca Belair makes note that the Viking Raiders have always taken the champions to the limit. The champions need to get serious and up in that smoke if they care about holding on to the championships. Finally, the main event of the evening, a non-title match. Well, wait a minute. WWE Champion Drew McIntyre defeated U.S. Champion Andrade with Zelina Vega and company in a non-title match. Okay, I did write that down correctly. So obviously that means championship not on the line, and it was being debated earlier whether it would be or not. Match starts with about 7 minutes to go before the top of the hour. McIntyre easily distracted. Andrade gets the illegal action and goes right after the formerly injured arm into the ring post and begins working on it. Andrade caught him with a back elbow, some strong, intense offense, and McIntyre free from the outside. McIntyre sent Andrade out of the ring, and back body drop and landed on both Garza and Theory. McIntyre said, "Who grabbed me?" and then lays out one of the two men, almost as if to say, I'm not going to put up with the gang mentality, war mentality around here. Now that I'm champion, we're going to deal with things like men. He manages to fight off Andrade and gave him an inverted Alabama slam before finishing him off with a Claymore kick for the pinfall. After the match, Rollins' music hits. Again, why is the music guy there during the quarantine? And for that matter, how does he know to hit everybody's music at exactly the right time? Just to make the music guy human, I would love to see him mess up at least once every few shows, even if it's only for 30 seconds. Makes him more human and makes the products more relatable. Newsflash to those at WWE. The fans don't care if it looks perfect. You do, because you've got this obsessiveness that you've been taught and trained to have. The fans only care if they're entertained. Loosen up a bit, folks. Anyway, after the match, Rollins' music hits, and Garza takes out the knee with a chop block of McIntyre. Rollins hit one more curve stomp as they go off the air. I'm not sure that I want to see Rollins and McIntyre at this juncture, but that looks like what we're going to get. In any event, this has been the Raw review for the evening of 4/13/2020. Keep your feet on the ground, your mind in the moment. Until next time, everybody.